Is your usual suspect. Welcome back to yet another live broadcast on your favorite football updates channel. It's a pleasure to be back with you on this beautiful Saturday night, the 31st of January 2026. It's the last day of the month, and we are enjoying the weekend action so far, depending on what side of the aisle that you do follow on. As we speak, Chelsea are in action against West Ham United, but have had to come from two goals down to restore parity through Marco Cucurella with the equalizer, while Joao Pedro had scored to have the deficit. Of course, West Ham took the lead through Gerard Bowen and a brilliant Somerville there to send to put a smile on Nuno Espirito Santos, first, but looks like Chelsea mounting quite the comeback. And I have that cynical feeling that it could be one of those games that Chelsea get on to win by 3 goals to 2. But let's wait and see. Remember, my prediction had been a 3-1 victory for Chelsea, but of course, I was surprised perhaps just as much as you may have been that West Ham took a 2-0 lead. Of course, Liam Delap made some significant changes to his starting lineup, bringing in the likes of Benoit Badiashile, Trevor Chalobah, Joel Hato, Joel Hato, yes, Malo Gusto, in midfield, Moises Caicedo, Enzo Fernandez. Up front, started with Jamie Gittens, Alejandro Garnacho, and who was at the tip of the attack. So really, those significant changes were made in the wake of the difficult night that they had in Naples. It was Liam Delap, yes, with Cole Palmer following behind the striker. So it's really understandable that he made the kinds of changes that he made, given the kind of night they had in Naples in midweek in the UEFA Champions League as they beat up against Napoli by 3 goals to 2. So, and then also bearing in mind that on Tuesday they have an engagement, a must-win fixture for them against Arsenal away to the Emirates Stadium in the return leg of the semi-finals of the EFL Cup. There, of course, trailing by 3 goals to 2 in that one. So that's why it's important that he made the kinds of changes that he had to make. Nonetheless, at halftime, he made amends to that starting 11, introducing Joao Pedro, introducing Marco Correa, and I think Wesley Fofana, who have turned the game on its head. And like I said, as we speak, it's 2-2 at the moment, and Chelsea are really pressing hard for the winning goal. That game is into the 89th minute. For those of you that are just joining us, welcome back to the channel. Thank you for joining us. Kindly like the broadcast, but also consider subscribing to the channel if it is your first time here with us. Apologies, I need to check up on something. Anyways, then, of course, the weekend did start with 3 games in as far as the Premier League match day 24 is concerned. It kicked off with 3 games, including Bournemouth away in action. Of course, Brighton were up against Everton. Arsenal were playing away to Leeds United. So, all that was action that we got to witness today. We will be getting into the results there, while we'll be looking at the in-depth analysis of what our observations were in as far as Arsenal's victory away to Leeds is concerned. So yeah, that will formulate the gist of our conversation tonight. But in the meantime, we are still keeping tabs on that Chelsea and West Ham game, a London derby that it's been quite interesting, although my internet has been quite buffering, so much to my detest that I had to watch the same game on 2 different devices just to see if I can keep up, just to see if I can get a better feed. And unfortunately, I can say that even with change of devices, not much has changed. Wow. Palmer was close to winning it for Chelsea. Like I said, they are pushing, really pressing for that. Oh, wow. What a block that was. Cole Palmer, this close to making it 3-2 for Chelsea. Chelsea, they are really pressing for that. In the other changes, of course, Richie James was introduced for Malo Gusto, while Pedro Neto was introduced earlier on in the first half for Jamie Gittens in as early as the 26th minute. So yeah, a very, very interesting. But match day 24 of the Premier League is a gift that kept on giving. Bournemouth, like I said, were playing away to Wolverhampton Wanderers, but our conversation will start with that game between Everton and Brighton. Everton scored a late equalizer through Beto. Remember, speaking about Beto, in the preview of that particular fixture, and I was singing praise of Tony Barry, who had scored in the last couple of games, and then disqualified Beto, who has had a difficult season. And indeed, it's been a difficult season, but it was his goal in the 7th minute of stoppage time that rescued a point for David Moyes' side, while Pascal Grob had scored in the 73rd minute to give Fabian Hustlers, a team the lead, and that game settled for a 1-1 draw, which means that's a perfect score prediction for us here on the Football Tribe UG channel. For those of you that do remember or recollect our, predictions that we made during the preview of match day 24 in the Premier League. I'm trying to look at here at those predictions, and yes, and I wrote it here. It was a 1-1 draw. That was my prediction. So that means it's a perfect score prediction. I wish Pedro was here to take register of those points. Godba says, hello, I'm back. Always a pleasure to see you around. I hope you're doing well. Wow. And it's a goal. Chelsea have won it. Enzo Fernandez. I told you I had that sneaky feeling that Chelsea were going to win it. I just had it at the back of my mind, that sneaky feeling that Chelsea were going to win it, given how quickly they got themselves back into the game. And Enzo Fernandez has scored to make it 3-2 in this fixture. So yeah, it is 3-2 in favor of the home side in Chelsea. They were never going to go down without a fight, and indeed they fought their way back into this one and to winning it. That means he's scoring for the second consecutive game, because he did score from the penalty spot away to Selhurst Park when they beat up against Crystal Palace by 3-1. I don't know if I should be concerned over their own performance or how they've conceded those 2 goals, but I mean, it's not strange. They are very capable of scoring the goals. We saw that in their 3-2 loss against Arsenal a couple of weeks back in the in that first leg of the EFL Cup semi-finals. So it's not strange, but I think it's Joao Pedro who provided the assist for that one. I mean, you can't blame Alfonso Ariura for that one. You can only blame the West Ham entirety of their defense for not putting their bodies on the line, for not closing down those spaces, for not being close enough. I keep saying every time an opponent player receives the ball in space without that, receive as be with them as they receive, it becomes a bit difficult to defend against. But yeah, Enzo Fernandez got himself booked for taking off his shirt for scoring that winning goal. Now, of course, the cliche pundits or those naysayers are going to say, well, yes, you scored a winner, but it's not a title-winning goal. It's not putting you at the summit of the table and things like that. It doesn't matter. It's just football. We enjoy it. If a player scores, they should be able to celebrate whichever way they see fit, for as long as it doesn't jeopardize their fortunes on the pitch. Because I say that because I do significantly remember Hugo Ekitike scoring the winning goal against Southampton in a 2-1 victory for Liverpool in the EFL Cup, as Liverpool beat Southampton by 2-1. Alexander Isak having scored in that fixture earlier on for his first Liverpool goal, and he took off his shirt, yet he was already on a booking, and so he eventually got himself sent off, which was ugly. So in this particular case, Enzo Fernandez wasn't already booked. So, but yeah, I think that has come to pass. That sneaky feeling that I had about Chelsea. Anyways, so like I told you, that game finished 1-1 between Brighton and Everton, meaning the points were shared and nothing strange. Oh, Cole Palmer wanted to make it 4-2. It's not a game in which both teams created many chances. Everton had 4 shots on target compared to Brighton's 2. Really, Brighton dominated affairs in terms of possession to the tune of 54%. But wow, what a miss. Liam Rasinia cannot believe it, although some people pronounce his name as Rosinia, Liam Rosinia, but I pronounce it Rasinia because that's how I had his dad pronounce his own, Leroy Rasinia. Anyways, moving away from the Everton draw, we then go to to the Molineux Stadium where Bournemouth beat up against Wolverhampton Wanderers by 2-0. My prediction for that one had been a 1-0 victory. Meanwhile, things are getting out of hand between those Chelsea players and the West Ham players. A lot of pushing and shoving amongst players, some having to be dragged away, and the referee just stood and watched on, not wanting to get into it and just waiting to act. Anthony Taylor is the referee in charge of this one. I suspect a lot of players are going to get booked. West Ham should know better. It's typical Chelsea trying to get under their skin. So I do not think now is the time to get wound up about that. You let it slide, see if you can find your way back into the game. We could see, we're about to see multiple bookings here because it's a body to body. And wow. Adama Traore literally lost it there. He'll be very, very lucky if he doesn't get sent off with a red card here. He'll be very lucky if he doesn't get sent off with a red card. But of course, Marco Correa literally called for it because Adama Traore beats him body to body in that show of a power, and then he hits the floor. And as he hits the floor, he attempts to handle the ball. I don't know whether he succeeded, but he appears to handle the ball intentionally to try and impede Adama Traore from proceeding with play. And then when he gets up, before he gets up, he's standing on his legs, Adama Traore, he pushes him away. He tries to push him out of the way. Then, in a quick reaction to come and defend his teammate, Wesley Fofana comes and shoves Adama Traore, and then Adama Traore responds with the same. So it got a bit chaotic as more players joined the party of that snafu there. Anyways, wow. We're already in stoppage time, and we do have a game kicking off at 11 p.m. East African time between Newcastle and Liverpool. We won't be able to do a watch along for that one, but be sure we will be here tomorrow night to discuss the results of that. And maybe, just maybe, I do not know. I don't know if we'll squeeze in a bit of time to do something in the middle of the day. But yeah, Anthony Taylor will have to be sent to the monitor. Oh, Mavropanos may as well get himself sent off because he waved his arm in the face of a Chelsea player, and that was Cole Palmer. So Anthony Taylor is being briefed about the situation, and we are waiting to see what the result is. For me, in this particular case, I say yellow cards are enough to all sides, to all players that were involved in the snafu. It's a heated contest. It's a derby, a London derby by its nature. So some of these things are about to happen. I'm not a stickler to the rules as much as I appreciate them, but when it comes to derbies and the historical context that comes with them, so Anthony Taylor has been summoned to the monitor, and I can almost guarantee you he's going to give somebody a red card because it's synonymous with English referees that the moment they get sent to the pitch side monitor, it's literally like they've been told, change your mind or issue a red card or change your decision. It's only Farai Haram who did it against Manchester City to defy whatever VAR had to say to him. And he hasn't taken long to have a review of that. And he walked back on. That means somebody somewhere is going to get themselves a red card. And it's Jean-Claire Todibo that has been sent off with a straight red card. It's a straight red card, so that means he'll miss, 3 games? Wow. Wow. Those were some ugly scenes. Not what you would want to see in football, but it is what it is. Oh, how do Chelsea get away with all that? I understand why the red card is issued to Jean-Claire Todibo, but anyways, that's it. Perhaps it's the home advantage. Maybe it's the reaction. The funny thing about football rules is that if a player slaps you, you're not allowed to retaliate, to revenge, because even if the referee does not give the foul, even if the referee doesn't give the foul, if you do revenge, then you're going to get booked for revenging. And I think to myself sometimes, where's the fairness in all that? I seem to remember today, particularly, the referee Stuart Atwell was in charge of the game between Arsenal and Leeds United at Elland Road, and Dominic Calvert-Lewin committed a foul that got Miles Lewis Kelly, I think last season, sent off with a red card, and he walked away with nothing, not even a yellow card. Now, in the defense of the referee in the same incident is that the referee was a little bit at a distance, perhaps to see that one clearly, for Dominic Calvert-Lewin's, foul on Gabriel Magalhaes, and perhaps VAR did not intervene because the referee initially does not deem it a foul big enough, worthy of even a caution. So, but then in the same game, Urian Timber goes and commits what you would consider to be a lesser foul, and he gets himself booked. Or he gets booked in the process. And I'm thinking to myself, where is the fairness in all this, in the application of these principles and rules? Anyways, it's game over. Chelsea have won the game by 3 goals to 2. But before we get wrapped into that Chelsea result, Kroenke scored in the 33rd minute to give Bournemouth the lead, which put his individual tally to, I think, now 8 Premier League goals in this campaign. That's brilliant for the youngster. You do remember, he's only 19 years of age. You do remember he came off the bench in Bournemouth's 4-all draw against Manchester United and scored in that game, So for those of you that care to remember there. So anyways, beautiful performance from Junior Kroenke there, the young attacking midfielder who was voted man of the match. Meanwhile, Alex Scott did score or decided to hammer the final nail in Wolves' coffin when he scored with that goal. That goal in the first minute of stoppage time. But yeah, brilliant performance from Andoni Iraola's side, who have been brilliant in the last few games. That means they've beaten up against Liverpool, they've beaten up against Wolves, they beat up against previously Tottenham Hotspurs. They beat them by 3 goals to 2 as well. Mutagaya. Is that how you pronounce the name? Mutagaya says hi. Hi to you too. How are you doing, my brother? I hope you're doing okay. Mutagaya Isif. I hope that's how you pronounce your name. If I mispronounce your name, I accept my sincere apologies. But yeah, it was a 2-0 victory for Bournemouth away to Wolverhampton Wanderers. My prediction, like I said, had been a 1-0 victory for AFC Bournemouth. I will check if somebody got the perfect score And then in the game that is just concluded, Chelsea have beaten up against West Ham United by 3 goals to 2. Chelsea having to come from 2 goals down, thanks to earlier goals from Gerard Bowen in the 7th minute, Somerville in the 36th minute, while Pedro Neto, while Joao Pedro scored in the 57th minute, second half substitute, to have the deficit, and then Marco Correa in the 70th minute to restore parity for the Blues. And then in the second minute of stoppage time, Enzo Fernandez scored what turned out to be the winning goal of the game, while the game concluded with the sending off of Jean-Claire Todibo there with a straight red card from the referee Anthony Taylor. Chelsea did not have a good first half. So basically I can sum that game up by saying it was a game of two halves, with West Ham dominating affairs in the opening half, while Chelsea took everything there was to take in the second half, ending up with an XG of 2.55 compared to West Ham's 1.12, and Chelsea had a total of 14 shots on goal, whereas West Ham had 11. Both sides had 6 attempts or shots on target. There are big chances created. Chelsea had 2, while West Ham had 0. Corners were 9-3, for those of you that may be interested in those statistics there. But yeah, beautiful game of football we did witness. Usually, the thing I like about high-scoring fixtures is that they never dull games. When goals keep coming in, literally on either end of the pitch. But West Ham will know that's a squandered opportunity in their battle against relegation. Why? Because they chanced themselves into a 2-0 lead. I say chanced themselves into a 2-0 lead because I do not think that even they had envisioned that. Now, their approach in the second half was wanting. Yes, Chelsea improved so many things. They were better. They made significant changes that turned the game on its head. But I thought West Ham also did not do enough to stay in the game or to compete in the game for the second half. And that's how they ended up dropping all 3 points. Pedri says, Mr. Tribe, what did I put for Bournemouth versus Wolves? I'll need to cross-check, but remember, I did not take note of all predictions, as we did agree that each of us will record their own predictions. But I think, Pedri, you said Bournemouth will win the game by 2-0, so that means that's a perfect score for you, Pedri, there. So, Bournemouth winning by 2-0. That's a perfect score prediction for you, Pedri. Pedri was a part of our predictions, along with Africa Will Never Unite there. As we predicted, match day 24 games of the Premier League. I also had a perfect score, like I told you guys. The 1-1 draw between Brighton and Everton, while Arsenal won their game by 4-0. And really, my own prediction had been that they would win the game by 4-1. While Pedri's prediction was, I did not take note of that prediction for him about the Arsenal. Say, yes, I knew I put 2-0, but I just wanted you to say it. Okay, all good. That's all good. We'll get, we'll look to review our performances at the end of match day 24, which wraps up. Yes, you said 1-0, so you got that one wrong. We'll review our performances at the end of match day 24 after Monday Night Football when Sunderland play. Who do they play? Is it Nottingham Forest? I think Nottingham Forest. That's who they are in action with on Monday Night Football there. So, yeah, that's been the result between Chelsea and West Ham United. Like I said, West Ham United did not cover themselves in glory. Sorry. Sunderland will be up against Burnley on Monday. So you said Chelsea would win 3-0. I said Chelsea would win 3-1. So none of us got a perfect score, but Chelsea still won either way. So we will get the 2 points there respectively. So yeah. So I get 0 points. You get 0 points for the Everton game because it ended in a draw. If it had ended in favor of you, regardless of the scoreline, then you know what the rules are, and you're party to those rules with your verbal signature. with your verbal signature. Anyways, I will stick to the gentleman's agreement that we'll respect the rules for the for the interest of the game, and should we see it fit unanimously to change gears, then, or to change the rules, then definitely we'll get to that. Arsenal Leeds, I said 2-0, so I get 2. Yeah, again, that's what you get because I also get 2 points because really, my expectation was that Arsenal would concede at least 1 goal, but they managed to keep a clean sheet. Speaking of Arsenal, Arsenal beat up against Leeds United by 4-0, keeping their 12th clean sheet of the campaign. Last season, David Raya had 13 clean sheets in 38 Premier League appearances. This season, he has 12 in 24 games. With 14 games still left to play. Now, there's no guarantee that he will keep a clean sheet again in the remaining 14, but there's no guarantee that he will concede in each of the last 14 games. However, the one thing that I can guarantee you is that he will concede in at least 5 of those remaining 14 games. In at least. Anyways, Arsenal went to Aaron Road with a bit of a fever following their defeat against Man United over last weekend in the Premier League. Really, they thought they gave themselves a consolation when they beat up against Kairat Almaty by 3-2, expectedly so, although their scoreline should have been better in that game, in the final game of the UEFA Champions League stage. So they came in this game with fresh legs, and none of the players, I think only one player, sorry, not one player. Actually, in the game against Kairat Almaty, they made 11 amendments or changes to the team that had started against Manchester United. Now, for the team that played against Kairat Almaty, we saw, I think, a return of 3 players who started in that game. We saw Kai Havertz, we saw Victor Gyökeres, and then we saw Pierre Hincapié. But did Pierre Hincapié start? No. Actually, only 2, because Pierre Hincapié did not start against Kairat Almaty. It was Ricardo Carafiori who started and played for 45 minutes, and then Hincapié was introduced in the second half in that centre-back role. You say Barcelona play Elche in 15 minutes. Predictions, I'll go Barcelona 3-1. That's my prediction. Barcelona to win by 3-1. Yeah, I'm looking forward to that fixture. Realist, I'll also be my main focus will be on the game between Newcastle and Liverpool, but I'll also be, keeping my eye on that Barcelona fixture against Elche. Why? Because Elche is, by Barcelona standard, Elche should be a winnable fixture. I'm sure a lot of Barcelona fans, or every Barcelona fan out there, would expect Barcelona to win that game. It will be news if Barcelona do not win. It won't be news if Barcelona win. It will simply be a mere met expectation for Barcelona fans in that regard. So, yeah. Anyways, so Arsenal, like I said, only 2 players that started against Kairat Almaty did start in today's fixture. Actually 3. Point of correction. So it's 3. It's Kai Havertz, Victor Gyökeres, and then Noni Madueke. I'd forgotten Noni Madueke because Noni Madueke was not in the initial starting 11 for that game. It was Bukayo Saka. Now, during the warm-up, Bukayo Saka got injured. He felt a niggle, he felt something, and the team, that's his manager, Mikel Arteta, and along with other decision makers, decided that he shouldn't be risked. So they left him out of the game, and then Noni Madueke was slotted into the game. He started in that game against Kairat Almaty. So those are the players: Victor Gyökeres, Noni Madueke, and Kai Havertz. Now, the interesting thing that I noticed as soon as those starting 11s came out was that you said Kai Havertz started ahead of the Arsenal captain, Martin Odegaard, and I loved it. He did not have a great performance. he did okay, fairly okay, and particularly in the first half, especially when it came to breaking up play, bringing his physique to the game, and things like that. He did not have a game as exciting as the one he had against Kairat Almaty, and nor did I expect him to have that kind of game. It would have been a surprise for me if he had gone on to have that kind of performance. But I completely understand for a player who just returned from injury for in the last 5 months. So completely understandable. So Pedro says, I said that Liverpool 2, Newcastle 3. I think I want 2-1 Liverpool to win that one. You say you'll go Elche 0, Barcelona 4. I do not know why. I do not think there's going to be a game this season that I'll predict involving Barcelona that I'll anticipate that they'll keep a clean sheet. They'll only keep surprising me like they did against Real Sociedad when they won that game by 3-0. But clean sheets are not synonymous with Barcelona. Correct me if I'm wrong, Pedri. How many clean sheets do Barcelona have in the Spanish La Liga? Help me do that quick research if you can access those statistics and let us know down in the comment section. Yeah. So Arsenal started with David Raya in goal, William Timber, William Saliba, Gabriel Magalhaes are wearing the captain's armband with Martin Odegaard on the bench, with Pierre Hincapié at left back. Martin Zubimendi, Declan Rice in the double pivot with, surprisingly, okay, they applied themselves interchangeably. At one moment, you'd think Zubimendi is the 8 and Rice is the 6, and vice versa, that one is really, really, very common. You say we actually kept a clean sheet. We've actually kept a clean sheet for 5 games in a row between December 4th, between 1st December and the 4th of January, which was 5 games. Oh, wow. That's a surprise to me. Perhaps I need to, keep myself more abreast with the Barcelona proceedings in terms of the exact scores for their respective games. But thank you so much for that note there. So ahead of the double pivot of Martin Zubimendi and Declan Rice was Kai Havertz, Leandro Trossard, Noni Madueke, and Victor Gyökeres. I thought Arsenal had a measurably good performance in the first half. They sort of beat Leeds to their own game. Now, Leeds changed their formation. They used to play with a lot of wingers, and Daniel Fakir decided that wasn't working for them, so he switched them to a back three, usually of Justin, Rondon, and Struijk. And then he goes for wing backs, or how we normally describe them in that kind of system of a 3-4-2-1 kind of system where you have 2 number 10s. So he goes with a good Manson and Jaden Bogo with Ampadu and Grove in midfield, and then Aronson, Antonio Stach, and Dominic Calvert-Lewin at the tip of that, with Dallo in goal. So I thought Dallo had a good game, by the way, until Arsenal scored, because they needed at least 27 minutes for a recycled ball from a corner kick. When I say recycled, that means Leeds defended against the corner well, Arsenal regained a possession, and Noni Madueke then put in the cross, for which Martin Zubimendi got his head to it, and it beat the Leeds goalkeeper Dallo in goal to give Arsenal the lead. Surprisingly, I think Martin Zubimendi has scored now 2 two-headed goals. And I say surprisingly because we know he's of a diminutive height, but just like Yohan Timber, he just knows how about to pop up in the right areas and get his head to the ball. And Yohan Timber equally had a chance in the game off of a corner kick, but only that his attempt off that header went over the bar in that very game. And then Dallo conceded an own goal. That's the Leeds goalkeeper, because again, it was another corner. Noni Madueke floats in. It's a brilliant attack. And then the goalkeeper Dallo had his teammate Dominic Calvert-Lewin standing before him, and then there was another Leeds player right at the upright or the post. So Dallo jumps high enough, tries to punch that ball away for Calvert-Lewin not to get his head onto it, and unfortunately for him, it as he punches it away, it hits into the back of the Leeds player standing at the post before it hits into the back of the net, and it was 2-0 for the Arsenal, a lead that they took into the halftime. Now, coming back in the second half, Leeds sort of found seemed to find their foot in the game. They really pushed Arsenal off. You felt that Arsenal were a bit pinned back in there, especially at the very start of the second half. This season we have 10 clean sheets in all competitions. Declan Rice was unfortunate not to get an attacking return, and also one of my favorite players in the Premier League is Gabriel Jesus. I like him so much. I hope he makes it to the Brazil World Cup team, and I hope he returns to Arsenal starting 11 because I like him more than Gyökeres. Okay, I thank you so much, Pedri, for those submissions and for the statistics about Barcelona's 10 clean sheets across all competitions. To be honest, 10 clean sheets across all competitions is not too many, but by Barcelona's style of play and standards, I would take that on any given day, because you guys like playing, Hansi Flick likes playing with that very high line to do the offside trap and things like that. And oftentimes that's where Barcelona get caught up and then they concede goals. So, but I completely understand. His style is his style, and I do not think he's going to change it. Just like Ruben Amorim stuck to his guns at Man United, only that Ruben Amorim ended up with having his fingers burnt. Anyways, back to that Leeds game. So the way Arsenal applied themselves today, the one thing I really appreciated is there was a semblance of similarity in how they went about this game to how they approached the game against Kairat Almaty. However, today they were just defensively much better. Of course, with their first 11, arguably, because in that's a game you could say that they feel they beat him. But nonetheless, one, they look to be more direct. They did that well. They got Noni Madueke oftentimes quick on the ball. Two, instead of this thing where they, start the ball, pass it back sideways, recycle it back to the goalkeeper, sideways, centrally, sideways, like that. Today they did not do too much of that. They focused on progressing the ball forward as opposed to distributing it sideways and backwards. And a lot of times they took. I don't think they picked a page out of Leeds playbook, because what Leeds strategy was, draw Arsenal into the press, and then as soon as they come in, go long. And they did that on numerous occasions. And Arsenal themselves deployed that very tactic because knowing that they had Victor Gyökeres and Kai Havertz, who are towering enough, energetic enough, physically strong, and could get those balls. And in some cases they were successful, but in majority of those cases, I do not think David Raya was successful in finding some of his teammates high up the pitch with that style of play. So in the second half, Arsenal had to weather a little bit of what felt like a little bit of a storm in that game when things weren't so perfect for them in the second half. But they ended up, extending their lead through Victor Gyökeres in the 69th minute. As how the goal happens is that I think it was Martin Odegaard who plays. Was it Martin Odegaard who plays the pass quickly to Gabriel Jesus? Because Martin Odegaard came on at the at the 1 hour mark for Kai Havertz, and then at the same time, I think they introduced who was introduced at that point. Oh, I'm struggling to remember who was introduced at that point. The one that came on with Martin Odegaard at the same time. Yes, it was Gabriel Martinelli. Yes, he was introduced with Gabriel Martinelli. So he gets played the ball in the channel quite quickly. A Leeds defender comes with a hard tackle, misses the ball. Martinelli gets the better of him eventually and crosses in the ball quite quickly beyond two defenders. And then Victor Gyökeres does enough to get in front or ahead of Justin, and he puts his foot or leg to that ball before beating Dalot, the Leeds goalkeeper, in goal to make it 3-0 for the Arsenal. And then very late on in the 86th minute, second half substitute, Gabriel Jesus, who replaced Victor Gyökeres, equally got himself on the squash, just like things had been, or how things had been the case against Inter Milan, although the reverse was that Victor Gyökeres came off the bench in that one for Gabriel Jesus. So Arsenal had an XG of 2.3, Leeds had a 0.1.5. Arsenal dominated possession to the tune of 51%, just marginally, compared to Leeds' 49%. Arsenal had 14 attempts on goal, 8 were on target. Leeds had 3 with only 1 on target. So then corners were 12 in favor of Arsenal to Leeds' 4. Saves made, Leeds had 4, Arsenal only 1. Big chances, Arsenal created 2, Leeds created 0. So really, it speaks to Arsenal dominating the key statistics of the game. And in the aftermath of that very game, Daniel Fakir, I mentioned just as much. He said the best team in Europe won, that they were better than them for everything they tried to do to try and get ahead of them. They had an answer to that. So he was being honest to say that today was not their day. It wasn't a good day for them. You say it was impressive how Martinelli crossed that ball with his weak foot, very technical in his less preferred position and foot. Very impressed with the assist. Gyökeres did well to deal with the defender also. Exactly. And I remember once that goal got scored, there's also another moment when Victor Gyökeres gets a plate onto the ball quite quickly enough, and he takes one touch, and as he prepares to take that shot, the defender literally, I think, nicks it away for him, or as he kicks the ball, the defender has his foot right there, and I almost thought that was going to be Arsenal's fourth goal. But I thought, one, he did well to get himself in the right position. Two, he was found in the position. And when I looked at that moment, I said to myself, that's what they need to do more for Victor Gyökeres. And also similarly to the situation of Gabriel Martinelli bringing in that cross. Those are the kinds of moments that they need to get Victor Gyökeres more into if they want to get the best out of him, because now so far I think he has 12 goals across all competitions with 4 assists, which is essentially not a bad contribution, but of course below average of his own standards. Of course, we do not expect that he would hit the same numbers as he was hitting the previous campaign whilst away at Sporting Lisbon, but nonetheless, you think in many games this season he could have done better. Martin Odegaard, when he came onto the pitch, I thought he looked brilliant. There were some moments still when I got frustrated with him, where he took one too many touches on the ball, and in the end, in one of those particular incidents, the ball is nicked away from him, or he loses concedes possession. But overall, I think it was an 8 out of 10 kind of performance for him, because he ended up providing the assist for Gabriel Jesus' goal. He looked to do things a little bit quicker. And I do remember a moment when he had drifted backwards and he almost caught. It's like catching yourself in wrong and you self-correct. He had drifted so back deep in, beyond. I wouldn't even call it midfield, almost near to the back line. And then, it dawned onto him. This is why you got benched. You need to get yourself back in midfield. And then he moved back. So I want to see, more of him in the middle third and going forward. That's where he has the impact on the ball, on the game as well overall. Not this business of drifting so far back as if we do not have a number 6, as if we do not have a number 8, and yet we have Martin Zubimendi and Declan Rice on the same playing turf. Anyways, I think it's time for those games for Barcelona against Elche, as well as Liverpool versus Newcastle. Like I said, I'll be keeping tabs on both games to see where things go. And yeah, we will be there on Sunday night to review whatever their performances may have been. But yeah, those were the fixtures from the Premier League for Saturday football. Like I said, there's one fixture remaining. That is a very, very late kickoff between Liverpool and Newcastle that is coming at 11 p.m. East African time. I'm trying to find here on my dashboard where that game actually is, because it is kicked off and it is in the second minute according to my screen here. And then for the game between Barcelona, I'm trying to still search for Barcelona versus Elche. Should be somewhere below here. Oh, really? Come on. Yes. Barcelona Elche. According to my screen, the game is yet to kick off. But anyways, we'll wait for them all, and we will keep you abreast with what the results will have been at the end of the day. But I thought that was a brilliant performance from Arsenal. They didn't give away too much to Leeds. Dominic Calvert-Lewin was kept quiet all night thanks to Gabriel Magalhaes and William Saliba in that fixture. So, like I said, Arsenal did so many things right and very few things wrong. You never felt, there's not a moment where Arsenal, you felt a bit nervous. If you are an Arsenal fan watching that game, I didn't suddenly not think that there was that kind of moment. Really, the same cannot be said for Chelsea in their game against West Ham United. So yeah, that was kind of the gist of it. Anyways, in the other games or results elsewhere around Europe, let's quickly run there and get what the results have been throughout Saturday and what games are ongoing as we speak. In the Spanish La Liga, Real Oviedo beat up against Girona by a goal to nil. Osasuna and Villarreal shared the spoils in a 2-all draw, while Atletico de Madrid were held to a goalless draw against Levante. The game between Barcelona and Elche has just equally kicked off. In the German Bundesliga, Freiburg were up against Augsburg and they beat, Augsburg beat up against St. Pauli by 2-1. Eintracht Frankfurt lost to Bayer Leverkusen by 3-1. Hoffenheim beat up against Union Berlin by 3-1. RB Leipzig lost to Mainz by 2-1, while Werder Bremen and Borussia Mönchengladbach shared the spoils in a 1-all draw. Hamburg SV somehow managed to hold Bayern Munich to a 2-all draw there in the German Bundesliga. In the Italian Serie A, Sassuolo beat up against Pisa by 3-1, while Napoli got the better of Fiorentina, beating them by 2-1. And as we speak, Cagliari and Hellas Verona is still goalless. That game is in the 17th minute. In the French League One, Paris FC and Olympique Marseille shared the spoils in a 2-all draw, while Lorient beat up against Nantes by 2-1. And in the next 2 minutes, AC Monaco are going to kick off against Rennes. So those were the other results from elsewhere across Europe in the major leagues. Some statistics: Joao Pedro now has 9 Premier League goals at level with Dominic Calvert-Lewin. Like I told you, Brandon Mbumo, Bruno Fernandes, Danny Welbeck, Hugo Ekitike, Junior Kropi have all 8 goals. And then Antoine Semenyo has 11 in third place. Igor Thiago with 16. Brought Erling Haaland with 20 goals. Bruno Fernandes leads the lineup for most assists this season with 10. Ryan Cherki with 7. Jack Grealish with 6. Granit Xhaka, Mohamed Kudus, Morgan Rogers all with 5. Yankuba Minte, Hartman of Burnley, Enzo Lifi of Sunderland, and Joao Pedro all have 4 assists there. Top passes is Virgil van Dijk with 1,852. Lewis Dunk next to him, John Van Hecke. These are all. The funny thing is that the top passers of the ball in the Premier League, the top 3 are all defenders, as in centre backs. Isn't that surprising or amazing, or speaks to how teams are playing so many perhaps back passes and building from out the back and things like that? And even the fourth, in fact, the top 5. Because in 4th place is Joachim Anderson at Fulham, is a centre back. Then Chelsea's Trevor Chalobah at 1,592 is in 5th place, is a centre back. Then that's where a midfielder comes in Elliot Anderson. Then Arsenal's William Saliba in 7th, Ruben Diaz of Manchester City, then Martin Zubimendi of Arsenal, Ibrahim Konate. Do you see how centre backs are dominating that statistic? Anyways, for the clean sheets, David Raya leads the pile with 12. Robert Sanchez, Gianluigi Donnarumma, Jordan Pickford all have 9. Dean Henderson of Crystal Palace and has 8. Nick Pope of Newcastle, Robin Rofis, Guillermo Vicario all have 7, while Jod Petrovic and Alson Ramsey-Becker all have 6. That's for the Premier League statistics that you need to know. But with that victory, Arsenal are restored their 7-point cushion as they wait for Aston Villa to be in action tomorrow, as well as Manchester City who play away, who will be winning away against Tottenham Hotspur. I needed to say that. While Aston Villa will also be winning their game tomorrow against their home fixture against Brentford, while Manchester United will be up against Fulham, and Nottingham Forest will come up against Crystal Palace. All those games kicking off at 5 p.m., while the Tottenham Man City game will kick off at 7:30 p.m. East African time. Sunderland will come on Monday Night Football against Burnley. at 11 p.m. East African time. Let's see here. Oh, Flanwitz wanted to penetrate the Newcastle backline. Nick Volkmada, is that Nick Volkmada? Why is he running like Anthony Gordon? That's Anthony Gordon. That's too deep across. That's still too deep across. I think Anthony Gordon needs to improve on his delivery. I have the same bone to pick with Noni Madueke. Does so many things right, but that final pass, that final ball is often wanting, often poor, often a blind pass. So many times against Kairati Almaty, literally passed the ball out of the pitch instead of passing it to a teammate. You know, and things like that. But anyways, guys, let me leave you to it. Allow me call it an end to our night broadcast today here after 50 minutes. Thank you so much, Pedri. Thank you so much, Kodba, Mutagaya, and every single one of you that managed to chip in. We will continue with the conversation tomorrow in our Sunday broadcast. Remember, on Sundays, we only do one broadcast, and that's at 11 p.m. East African time there. We will be looking to do that. But in the meantime, I wish you a blessed Sunday, a blessed weekend. Go enjoy those games between Newcastle and Liverpool, between Barcelona and Elche, depending on where your allegiances and interests do fall, while there's a game there in the French League One also that has kicked off between Monaco and Rennes there. So enjoy all that action. In the Dutch Eredivisie, there's Sparta Rotterdam against Groningen. That game has also kicked off, 7 minutes played, and it's still goalless. So go enjoy all that action in as far as tonight is concerned, and then we'll engage on Sunday. But Barcelona already have the lead here. Wait a minute. Okay, yeah, Barcelona do have the lead against Elche. Like I said, although my prediction was 3-1 to Barcelona, I have a feeling it could be more. Who is the goal scorer? Looks like it's been Lamine Yamal, who's gotten on himself on the score sheet in that one there, as we will see. I'm waiting for the replay because I did not get the chance to watch the goal in real time. Let's just watch this before we wrap up the broadcast. Oh, come on. Oh, beautiful pass. Oh, Jesus Christ. What was the Elche goalkeeper thinking? He sort of came out and then hesitated and then left the ball to chance. Meanwhile, Simon Hooper is the referee in charge of that Liverpool-Newcastle game. Why did he hesitate? It's a long pass, a long high ball. The goalkeeper sees it coming, but he sort of moves towards the edge of the 18-yard box, and instead of committing to it, he sort of hesitates, stays up, he stays in the area, and then Lamine Yamal runs to it, and he scores. And it's 1-0 to Barcelona. Mistakes ought to be punished at the highest of levels. Anyways, guys, it's been a pleasure. Stay blessed. Have a wonderful night, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye-bye for now.